We have to reduce the time limit to 3 minutes. Danielle Rowley. The honourable gentleman shouldn't be surprised, because he can count as well as I can how many of his colleagues want to speak and how little time is left. Danielle Rowley.
Very grateful, Madam Deputy Speaker. In just February, I asked the Minister for Energy and Clean Growth if she really believed that the government were doing enough on climate change, and her answer, and I quote, "I'm very pleased to assure the Honourable Lady that we're not only doing enough, but we're leading the developed world." But clearly, after pressure from young people striking, from protests that have taken place since then, the government have been forced to change their language on this, and they now admit that much more needs to be done, which is very welcome, and the Secretary of State recognised that in his opening remarks. But in spite of this rhetoric, the government have failed to take the necessary action that we've needed to see on climate change. There are many things that I could mention, Madam Deputy Speaker, but we're very short on time. But I can't support anything that would be putting green jobs at risk. Urgent action is needed now, and this action must be bold and it must be transformative and job-centred. We need change driven by the government, including to transform our economy. Our current economic system threatens the foundations which human well-being depends upon. Building a sustainable economy needs a fundamental rethink of the way that we run and measure its success, so that GDP, which takes no account of environmental impact or human well-being, is no longer the only benchmark. We need to adapt how we produce goods and services to reflect natural constraints. As the party of workers, Labour is unequivocal that required shift to a net zero emissions economy must be fair for communities and for workers. What we need is nothing short of a green industrial revolution, something that will allow us to develop jobs and investment opportunities across the UK, such as the 50,000 well-paid unionised jobs we would create in Scotland. It's clear that for our young people and campaigners, the demand for change is not about business as usual, bold words but bland action, tinkering around the edges. They're explicit that this is about making sure actions are transformational, addressing the systemic drivers of environmental degradation and climate change, and Labour is committed to doing this. My constituents in Midlothian are extremely concerned not only about climate change but about an environmental crisis. Scotland's rivers, including my own local River Esk, for example, are being frequently polluted, and it's awful to see. But I'll sum up with the words of one of my constituents who wrote to me recently and said, "Current legislation appears to be serving companies, its convenience, and that translates to suffering, poisoning and harm for wildlife and ecosystems. It's serving profits and the economy. So we must create a system that's for the people, for the planet and for the many." Thank you.
Sir Mike Penn.